Welcome to my channel Exposed-SecretsTales. Your one click means everything to me. Please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. I'm Matthew, the man who thought he understood every corner of his marriage. Trust is a delicate thing. It builds, slowly, layer upon layer, but it can vanish in the span of a single heartbeat. That night I discovered just how fragile it truly was. It was late evening, and the house felt unusually quiet. My wife Claire had said she was heading to the church for a women's fellowship. She often attended, so at first I didn't think. Twice. But something about her voice lingered in my ears after the call ended. It was a hesitation, a pause too long before she answered. I decided to test it. I sent her a message. "Where are you now?" Her reply came within moments. "I'm at church." My chest tightened. I could have left it at that. But a thought crept in. Dark, unshakable, demanding clarity. I typed back, "Perfect. I'm right here in the parking lot." The dots of her reply appeared, then disappeared, then nothing. Silence. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. I was not in the parking lot, but I was only a few streets away. Her silence felt heavier than any words she could have spoken. I turned the ignition and drove. The closer I got to the church, the more my mind raced. If she was truly inside, praying, surrounded by people, she would have no reason to hesitate. No reason to fall silent. Unless she wasn't there at all. I pulled into the church lot. The lamps threw long shadows across the empty rows. My headlights swept over cars, but hers was not among them. My heart pounded. The fellowship was supposed to last hours. Why wasn't she here? I stepped out, the cool air hitting me sharply, grounding me in the storm of my thoughts. I stared at the tall wooden doors of the church, closed and locked. The silence of the place mocked me. Claire had lied. Questions tore through me, sharp and relentless. Where was she really? Who was she with? Why would she need to hide? I dialed her number. The ring went on until it cut into voicemail. I called again. "This time," she answered. "Hello?" Her voice was soft, almost cautious. "I'm outside," I said steadily, though my hands trembled. "At the church." "Where are you?" A pause. The faintest sound of traffic in the background, not the hushed stillness of a church hall. I stepped out for some air," she stammered. "I'll be back inside soon." But her car wasn't there. Something snapped inside me. The trust I had carried for years fractured under the weight of her words. "Claire," I said slowly, "your car isn't here. Don't lie to me. Where are you?" The line went silent again. I could almost hear her breathing, heavy, uneven, as if searching for the right answer. And then, without warning, the call ended. I stood in the parking lot, phone still pressed to my ear, staring at the empty space where her car should have been. The night around me felt colder, sharper, as though it knew the truth before I did. For the first time in our marriage, I wasn't sure if I knew the woman I had vowed to spend my life with. And in that hollow silence, one thought consumed me. What if she was with someone else? I turned, scanning the dark streets beyond the church gates. Somewhere out there, Claire was hiding, and I was going to find her. The night pressed in around me, heavy with questions I wasn't ready to face. My wife, the woman I had built my world around, was not where she said she would be. That truth alone was enough to tear something inside me. I slid back into the driver's seat and started the engine. The roads stretched ahead, lit only by the glow of scattered street lamps. My eyes darted left and right, searching for her silver sedan, a car I knew better than my own reflection. Every memory of Claire came flooding back. Our laughter, our shared secrets, the promises whispered in the quiet of night. And yet now, all I could hear was her silence after my message. I drove past familiar streets, scanning every lot, every corner, every stretch of road. The thought that she might be with someone else clawed at me like a shadow I couldn't shake. My phone buzzed. A message from her. "Stop following me. Please go home." The words nearly froze my breath. How could she know I was searching unless she was watching me too? Unless she was close enough to see? I typed back quickly, "Claire, where are you? I just want to talk." No reply. I tightened my grip on the wheel and turned down Maple Avenue, a quieter stretch lined with cafes and small shops. That's when I saw it, her car, parked in front of a dimly lit diner far from the church. My chest ached as I pulled over a few spaces back, killing the headlights. For a moment, I just sat there, staring at the vehicle I had washed with my own hands, the same one we had taken on countless trips together. She was inside. I opened the door, stepping out cautiously. My shoes crunched against the gravel, each sound louder than the last in my ears. I moved closer, my heart pounding so violently it felt as if the whole street could hear it. Through the diner window, I spotted her. Claire. She wasn't alone. Across from her sat a man. His back was to me, broad shoulders filling the booth seat. She leaned forward, speaking to him with a look I hadn't seen in years, intense, almost vulnerable. I froze, every muscle in my body torn between rushing in and retreating. My chest tightened as if iron bands wrapped around my ribs. Who was he? The thought alone made my vision blur. My wife, who told me she was at church, was here, late at night, with another man. I stepped closer to the glass, desperate to hear, to catch even, a fragment of their conversation. But all I could see was the way she reached across the table, placing her hand near his. The man finally turned slightly, and though the light inside was dim, I caught a glimpse of his profile. Strong jaw, dark hair. He looked younger than me. My stomach twisted. In that moment, every possibility clawed at me. Was she confessing something, seeking comfort? Or was I already too late, a stranger looking in on a life that was no longer mine? I pulled out my phone, my hands trembling, and called her again. Inside the diner, Claire's phone lit up on the table. She glanced at the screen, then at the man, her expression conflicted, and then she declined the call. The rejection hit harder than any truth I could have imagined. I staggered back from the window, my pulse echoing in my ears. She had chosen silence over me. The question was no longer if she was hiding something. It was what, and whether I was ready to hear the answer. Stood frozen outside that diner window, the cold night air biting at my skin, but the chill inside me was far worse. Claire's silence, her refusal to answer, her decision to sit across from another man while telling me she was at church. Each of those things pierced deeper than I thought possible. I could have stormed in. I could have demanded answers right, there in front of everyone. But something stopped me. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the last fragile piece of hope that this wasn't what it looked like. Instead, I turned and walked back toward my car, my legs heavy, my mind spinning. I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the wheel, staring at the glowing diner sign. Every passing second stretched into eternity. I needed to know. So, I waited. Minutes crawled by. My phone buzzed once. Another message from her. "Please don't do this, Matthew. Go home." I stared at the words, my chest tightening. She wasn't denying where she was. She wasn't offering an explanation, just begging me to disappear. But I couldn't. Not now. Nearly half an hour later, the door to the diner opened. Claire stepped out, pulling her coat tighter around her shoulders. The man followed, his hand brushing against her back in a way that made my stomach twist. They laughed softly at something, her laugh, the same laugh I used to live for, now cutting me like glass. I ducked lower in my seat as they walked toward her car. She unlocked it, and for a moment, I thought she would leave alone. But he slid into the passenger side without hesitation. My heart sank. I started the engine, waiting until they pulled onto the road before following at a safe distance. The night was silent except for the hum of my car and the pounding of my pulse. Where were they going? I tailed them through winding streets until finally, Claire's car slowed in front of a quiet residential neighborhood. She parked near a small brick house with its porch light glowing faintly. The man got out first, walking up the short path. Claire hesitated for a moment, then followed, and together they disappeared inside. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles whitened. Every part of me screamed to rush to the door, to confront them both, to demand the truth. But I didn't move. I couldn't. Instead, I watched the windows of that house, waiting for any sign of what was happening inside, waiting for proof, waiting for something I both dreaded and needed. The porch light flickered once, then steadied. Shadows moved behind the curtains, and then slowly one of the upstairs windows glowed with light. My throat tightened. I felt the ground shifting beneath me, my entire world trembling on the edge of collapse. Because no matter what Claire said after this night, no matter what excuses she gave, I had seen enough to know one thing for certain. Our marriage would never be the same. I sat in the darkness, my headlights off, my eyes fixed on that upstairs window glowing faintly above the brick house. Every minute stretched longer than the last, every shadow across the curtains feeding my worst fears. I tried to steady my breath, but my chest rose and fell too quickly, betraying me. I was a man on the edge of knowing too much and yet not enough. The questions tore at me. Who was he? Why this house? Why had she lied? I thought back to our wedding day, to the vows spoken beneath the church roof she claimed to be sitting under tonight. The woman I had held in my arms, swearing to love and to trust. Where had that trust gone? Had I lost her slowly without noticing, or all at once, tonight? The longer I sat there, the more unbearable it became. My phone sat in my hand, glowing with unanswered calls and unread messages. I thought of dialing again, but what good would it do? She had already chosen silence. She had already chosen him. Finally, I couldn't bear it any longer. I opened my door quietly and stepped out into the cold night. The crunch of gravel beneath my shoes seemed deafening, but I pressed on step by step until I stood at the foot of the path leading to the front door. The house loomed before me, its quiet walls guarding secrets I was never meant to hear. I raised my hand to knock. My fingers trembled inches from the wood, but then voices drifted down through the night air, faint, muffled, but unmistakable, Claire's voice and his. I froze, straining to hear. Claire's tone wasn't playful now. It was serious, urgent. I caught fragments of words. Can't keep this. He'll find out. Not ready. The man's voice responded, lower, firmer, steadying her. My breath caught. The pieces shifted in my mind. This wasn't just a meeting. This was something planned, something hidden deep. I stumbled back from the door, my mind spinning faster than my body could keep up. My chest ached with the weight of it all, heavier than any suspicion I had carried before. I looked up again at that glowing window, the two shadows moving inside. Whatever secret Claire had kept from me, it was about to break our lives apart. And in that moment, standing on the edge of the truth, I realized something that chilled me even more than betrayal itself. I wasn't sure I wanted to know. The thought echoed in my head as I stood there, staring at the faint glow of the upstairs window. I had come this far, chasing answers I thought I needed. But now, with the truth only a few steps away, fear held me still. What if knowing destroyed everything? My hand shook as I reached for the doorknob, then pulled back quickly as if the metal itself burned me. My heart raced. I could turn away now, go home, pretend I had never followed her here. Pretend tonight was nothing more than a misunderstanding. But the sound of Claire's voice carried faintly through the walls again, tugging me forward. This time I didn't walk to the front door. Instead, I circled around the side of the house, my shoes crunching softly on the gravel path. The backyard was quiet, lit only by a single light above the back porch. The curtains there were drawn, but not completely. A narrow gap allowed a thin view inside. I hesitated, then leaned closer. There they were, Claire and the man, sitting close. Together, their faces serious. She looked pale, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. The man leaned forward, speaking with calm certainty, his hand resting briefly over hers. My stomach clenched. Then I heard it. Her words, soft but clear enough to reach me. I can't keep lying to him. He deserves to know. The man nodded. We will tell him, but not like this. Not until you're ready. The world around me seemed to tilt. My pulse thundered in my ears. They weren't just hiding from me, they were planning something big enough to shatter us completely. I wanted to burst in, to demand the truth, but my legs stayed rooted to the ground. I couldn't tear my eyes away from Claire's face. The way she looked at him, the way she clung to his words, it wasn't the look of a stranger. It was trust, and maybe something deeper. My phone buzzed suddenly in my pocket, loud in the still night. I fumbled to silence it, but it was too late. Inside, Claire's head snapped toward the window, her eyes locked on me. For one breathless second, time froze. Her expression shifted from shock to fear, her lips parting as if to speak. The man turned sharply, following her gaze, and rose from his chair. I stumbled back into the shadows, my breath ragged. The back door creaked open and footsteps hurried onto the porch. Matthew, Claire's voice called, shaky, uncertain. The man stood beside her, his eyes scanning the darkness where I stood, and in that moment, I realized I could no longer hide in silence. The truth had found me. I stepped forward from the shadows, my chest tight, my hands trembling. Claire's eyes widened as she saw me clearly, her lips pressing together as though words failed her. The man at her side didn't move, but his gaze was steady, watchful, protective even. Matthew, Claire's voice broke, what are you doing here? I let out a hollow laugh, though it held no humor. What am I doing here? You told me you were at church. You told me you were praying with friends, and now I find you here. With him. Her shoulders sagged, guilt heavy in her posture. She glanced at the man, then back at me. It's not what you think. Not what I think? My voice rose despite the night around us. Then tell me what it is, Claire. Tell me why you lied. Tell me why I followed you here instead of finding you in the place you swore you were. The man stepped forward then, raising a hand slightly as if to calm me. Maybe we should go inside and talk. Don't you dare. I cut him off. Sharply, my eyes burning into his. Don't you dare speak for her. I want to hear it from my wife. Claire flinched, tears brimming in her eyes. She pressed her palms together as if holding her words tightly before they slipped out. Matthew, please, I didn't want you to find out like this. The sound of her confession sliced through me. My chest felt hollow, as if all the air had been stolen away. Find out what? I demanded, my voice cracking. Her tears spilled. Over then, running down her cheeks. She turned to the man beside her, as though drawing strength from him, before finally facing me. Matthew. I've been hiding something from you. Not because I wanted to hurt you, but because I didn't know how to tell you. Her voice shook with every word. This man, his name is Aaron, and he's been helping me with something I should have told you months ago. Aaron's eyes softened, but he stayed silent, letting her carry the weight of it. My heart thudded painfully, every beat echoing louder than the last. Helping you with what, Claire? She hesitated, her breath hitching as though the words themselves were too heavy to release. Finally, she whispered, "With the truth about me and about us." I staggered back a step, my mind spinning. Her voice trembled, but her eyes locked onto mine with a desperate plea. "Matthew." Everything is about to change. Her words hung in the night air, sharp and unshakable. My breath caught as I stared at her, unable to move, unable to think. Past the pounding in my head. "What does that mean, Claire?" My voice was low, strained. "What truth could be so big that you would lie to me, sneak around, meet him in secret?" Her hands trembled as she clasped them together. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I wanted to tell you in the right way when you were ready, but I kept putting it off, afraid of what it would do to us." "Ready for what?" My words cracked under the weight of my fear. She drew in a shaky breath, her eyes shimmering with tears. Then, with a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Matthew, I've been sick for months." The ground seemed to fall away beneath me. "Sick?" She nodded slowly. "At first I thought it was nothing, just stress, exhaustion. But then the tests, the doctors. It was worse than I ever imagined. I couldn't bring myself to tell you. I didn't want to watch the worry in your eyes every day. I didn't want to break the life we've built." I felt the breath leave my lungs in a rush. My anger, my suspicions, the fire that had carried me here, all of it faltered. "And him?" I asked hoarsely, glancing at Aaron. Claire swallowed hard. "Aaron is not who you think he is. He's my doctor, the only one I trusted enough to meet outside the hospital. He's been helping me with treatment, guiding me through what's ahead." Aaron finally spoke then, his voice calm but firm. "I told her she needed to bring you in, that secrets like this only create more pain. But she was afraid, Matthew, afraid of losing you before she had to." I staggered back, my chest tightening with a pain far deeper than jealousy. Claire's tears streamed freely now, her body trembling as though releasing the weight she had carried for too long. "I lied, because I thought I was protecting you," she cried. "But all I did was push you away." The night spun around me, the truth cutting sharper than any betrayal I had imagined. My wife had been fighting something unseen, carrying it. In silence while I had been chasing shadows, I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. My throat burned, my heart throbbed with a mixture of love, sorrow, and guilt. Claire reached toward me, her hand trembling. "Matthew, can you forgive me? Can you stand by me now, when I need you most?" Her plea tore at every part of me. I wanted to hold her, to promise her she would never face this alone. But the fear of what lay ahead, clamped down, like chains. And in that silence, with her hand still reaching, I realized the choice before me was not just about forgiveness. It was about whether I was strong enough to carry the truth she had hidden. I took a step closer, my lips parting, ready to answer. And then suddenly Claire's legs buckled beneath her. She collapsed onto the porch, her body trembling violently as Aaron dropped to her side. "Claire!" I cried, rushing forward, my heart lurching into my throat. "Claire!" I fell to my knees beside her, my hands fumbling helplessly. Her face was pale, her breaths shallow, her eyes half open. Fear surged through me, hot and cold all at once. Aaron's voice cut through the panic. "Matthew, stay with her. Keep talking to her. I'll call for help." "No," I shouted, grabbing his arm. "You're her doctor. You do something." His jaw tightened, but he pulled free and knelt beside her again, checking her pulse, his movements precise, practiced. "She's fainted from stress. She needs rest. But she'll be all right. Still, we can't take chances." He pulled out, his phone, already dialing emergency services. I held Claire's hand, gripping it tightly as though I could anchor her to this world by sheer will. "Claire, please. Stay with me. I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere. Her eyelids fluttered, her lips trembling as she whispered, I didn't want you to see me like this. Tears blurred my vision. I don't care how you look, how weak you feel. You're my wife. I should have been by your side through all of this. I should never have doubted you. She tried to smile, but it faltered. I was afraid of losing. You! And you almost did, I whispered, pressing my forehead against her hand. Not because of your sickness, but because of the lies. No more lies, Claire. We face this together. The wail of sirens grew louder in the distance, filling the night with urgency. Aaron stood, waving to the approaching ambulance. Within minutes, paramedics rushed to us, lifting Claire gently onto a stretcher. I followed close, refusing to let go of her hand. My anger, my suspicions, my jealousy, all of it dissolved into one truth. None of it mattered. What mattered was the woman lying before me, the woman I had promised to love, in sickness and in health. As they loaded her into the ambulance, Claire's eyes met mine again. This time there was no fear in them, no hesitation, only a fragile trust. I climbed in after her, gripping her hand once more. Whatever comes, we face it side by side. Her lips curved faintly, her voice a whisper barely carried over the hum of the engine. That's all I wanted to hear. The ambulance sped into the night, carrying us toward an uncertain future. But for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't afraid of the unknown, because I knew we would face it together. The end.